Section 1.6, Algebraic Expressions, Translations, and Exponents. A constant is a known quantity whose value does not change. A variable is an unknown quantity, or a quantity that can change its value. An algebraic expression consists of variables, constants, and operating signs. 2x plus 3 minus y is an algebraic expression with the operations of multiplication, addition, and subtraction, containing the constants 2 and 3 and the variables x and y. A term is a number, a variable, or the product of or quotient of numbers and variables. There are 3 terms in the previous example. Terms are separated by addition and subtraction. So we need to know how to translate algebraic expressions. If we see the word plus or the phrase increased by, those mean addition. So does sum. If you see the word sum, it means addition. If you see the word more than, it means addition. What are different ways you can say subtraction? You can say minus, decreased by, difference, or less than. Multiplication is indicated when you see the word times or product, or even the word of. Whenever we see the word of in mathematics, we think multiplication. Division can be indicated by the phrase divided by or the word quotient. So let's translate each algebraic expression into words. 5x, 5 times x. What about y minus a negative 2? We can say that's the difference between y and negative 2. The word difference means you subtract. 1/2 times n, we can say 1/2 of n. Of means multiplication. 2m plus 5, 5 more than twice m. Notice that 2m plus 5 ends in the number 5, but when we use the word more than, the 5 goes at the beginning. So we kind of say it in reverse order. 1 minus 3y, the difference between 1 and 3y. 4 times x plus y, we can say that is 4 times the sum of x and y. Sum means you add them. So let's translate each phrase to an algebraic expression. What about twice x? Cover up those answers. Don't look. Twice x. Twice means 2 times x. N decreased by negative 7. Decreased by means subtract, so n minus a negative 7. 1/2 of n, 1/2 times n. 10 more than y. Y plus 10. The 10 goes at the beginning, but when we write it out, we put plus. The difference between x and the product of 3 and y. Difference means subtraction, and you're subtracting x minus 3y, the product of 3 and y. 10 times the quantity r minus s. Now when it says quantity, that means there's something in parentheses. So the quantity r minus s means that r minus s has to be in parentheses. So if a polygon has n sides, the number of diagonals in a polygon is 1/2 the number of sides times the difference of the sides and 3. Write this expression symbolically. If a polygon has n sides, the number of diagonals, well, let's use a D for that. D for diagonals. The number of diagonals in a polygon is 1/2 the number of sides, let's call that n. 1/2 the number of sides n times, that means multiplication, the difference. We're going to multiply 1/2 n times a difference. We need parentheses for that. The difference of the number of sides and 3. Well, that's an interesting expression. Why don't you look at a square, a pentagon, a hexagon, and compare the number of sides to the number of diagonals. and see if that works. D equals 1/2 n times n minus 3. What about exponents? If you have x to the fourth, that means x times x times x times x. X is the base and 4 is the exponent. So let's compare these two problems here. If you have negative 3 squared, that means negative 3 times negative 3. That's a positive 9. What happens if you have negative 3 squared? This time, what are you squaring? Before, we were squaring the negative sign because the negative sign was in parentheses. This time, the negative sign is not in parentheses. That means it's out front waiting to see what happens when you square the 3. So it's negative 9. The negative is not being squared in that case. Be very careful when you are raising negative numbers to even exponents. You have to be aware, are you squaring the negative sign or not? The parentheses tell you when to include the negative sign. Express each expression using exponents. 10 times x times x. There are 2 x's, so we use the exponent 2 to show that there are 2 x's. We have 10x times 10x. You're squaring 10x. So we'll put the 10x in parentheses to show that both the 10 and the x, they're together. They're being squared. Negative 5 times x times x times x times y times y. So the negative 5 doesn't have an exponent. There's only one of them. But there are 3 x's. We indicate that by writing x to the third. There are 2 y's, and we indicate that by writing y squared. The volume of a cube can be found by cubing the length of a side. Write an expression in exponential form to represent the volume of a cube using s as the length of the side. So we have a cube, and a cube has 3 dimensions, and they're all the same. So the volume of a cube can be found by cubing. How do you cube something? You raise it to the 3rd power. The volume of a cube can be found by cubing the length of a side. So that's it. V equals s cubed. S is the length of the side, and if you raise it to the 3rd power, you will have the volume of the cube. That's all for this section.